Even on Purim, I don't wear a hat like that.
Trouble. You're going to be on call now.
Even on Purim, I don't wear a hat like that.
Who hayomer? He presented the following halacha. Who hayomer presented the following halacha. And Chomesh Shonim B'Mikra, when the child becomes 5 years old, so that at that point he has to learn Chumash. Breishish, Moed, Vayikra, he learns Chumash. Ben Esser Shonim B'Mishneh, when he reaches the age of 10, so he learns Talmud Mishneh. Not Talmud, but he learns the Mishneh. Shisha Sidri Mishneh. And then Yud Gimel Shonim the Mitzvahs, when he becomes 13, so he's Mechuyev, he becomes Bar Mitzvah. He becomes obligated to do mitzvahs. He puts on tefillin, that everybody knows that's one of the mitzvahs that he does. And then in general, that's not the only mitzvah, but he becomes obligated to do all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Every mitzvah that he does, he davens, he zokeh, he smatz on Pesach, all the mitzvahs that he does, he has his shofar blazon, all the mitzvahs that he does, all the 613 mitzvahs, that's obligated for a Jew. So when he's 13, he was chayiv in mitzvahs. We began mentioning this the other day, that this is, of course, someone who has Jewish parents. His mother's a Yid, mother Jewish, so when he's 13, he becomes chayiv mitzvahs, so he has to do mitzvahs and he has to answer. Heaven forbid, if he doesn't avere it, so he has to answer, he'll be punished for every mitzvah that he doesn't do, for every avere that he does, for not eating, for whatever averes that he commits, he'll have to answer it. He's not a cotton, he's not a minor anymore, he's a godel, he has to do it. This is by someone who's a non-Jew, nations of the world. So when does he become a godel? When does he become chayiv in mitzvahs? Because they also have their commandments that they have to observe. They have the Sheva Mitzvos, the 7 light commandments that they have to observe. So when do they have to answer if they don't fulfill them? When will they be punished? At what age? So we began mentioning it. There's a Shuvas HaRosh. The Rosh says that Shiurin, Chatzitzin, Mechitzin, that measurements, a shear, a measurement, these all, like Kezias, Beye, 13 years old, Memso and Mikvah, all these things are halacha l'Moshe Sinai. They were given down at the same time that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he ascended Har Sinai, and he was makabel all the Torah and the mitzvahs. So at that time also there was given certain halachas that were without any rationale, Agzeres HaKodesh, halacha l'Moshe Sinai, and those fit into the category. And 13 years old is one of them. That when a child becomes 13, halacha l'Moshe Sinai becomes a god. But this is only on someone whose parents are Jewish, a Yid. His mother is a Yid. So when he becomes 13, it's halakha Moshe Sinai. But someone who's a non-Jew, says what age he doesn't fall in the category halakha Moshe Sinai. What age does he become? And we know becomes of age, an adult 13. And we know that there is such a category by non-Jews as well, because the halachim, like the Rambam brings, the halachim brings that that just like by a yid, there's three categories by Jews, three categories that are absolved, they're not answerable. Cherish shoyte v'kotten, a person who doesn't, unfortunately, doesn't have the intelligence, is a shoyte v'av das, kotten, that he's a minor, the cherish of his death, they're not mechuyev in mitzvahs. So he says, that they're not answerable, that a non-Jew who commits, if he's a kotten, if he won't be punished for committing an aver, he's a kotten. So what age is he become a god? The Gemara in Ksub is so like this here. Where it says, Ger Katan madbilin oisel das besen. That if a child, a non-Jewish child comes to Bezdin, and he says he wants to become a Jew, he wants to be Jewish. So he's 10 years old, 11 years old, 9 years old. Madbil noisel das besen. So Bezdin, they perform everything that has to be done by tefillah, milah, everything has to be done, circumcision, bitoivu, everything, and al das Bezdin, they, on their authority, he becomes a yid. And the Gemara says, why? Because zochin l'odam shalai v'folem. Because it's considered something very positive, it's a benefit. He benefits from becoming a yid, so something that you can do something for someone. You can, if you have in mind, you see something laying in the street. You see $100, and you say, "I'm going to pick this $100 up, and I want to give it to Pinchas. It's going to be Pinchas's. I'm picking it up for Pinchas. It's Pinchas's $100, because what could he lose by gaining $100? He can't do anything by it. So that Zachil Adam, even though Pinchas is not here, and he didn't appoint him to make him a messenger shliach automatically, just because it's for his benefit to have that $100.
I would give it to you.
Huh?
I would give it to you.
So here, so same thing is when a non-Jewish child comes to business, it's considered something positive that he gains from it. When he becomes a yid, by study that he gains from becoming a yid, something positive, it's for his benefit. So Teish Asakashi, that to that category of Zachil Adam is it's in the category of shlichus, of a messenger, and you have to be, in order to make somebody a messenger for you, you have ein shlichus the cotton. A cotton can't appoint someone as a messenger because he's not an animal. So they say ein shlichus the cotton. So how can Bezdin make him? How can they do that? They can't be his messenger. So Tosafos says that it's mirabbanan. That all of this is only a rabbinical ordinance, but minat Torah, he's not yet a Jew. He's only mirabbanan. So Tosafos asks the question. Tosafos asks, we do find that there is that instance where there is a minor, a ger, that's a cotton, a proselyte, that's minat Torah, that according to is a biblical minat Torah considered a Jew, because it says if he doesn't have someone that he left over as a relative. There's no relatives, so it goes, if he has an inheritance and he has no relatives, it goes to the Kohanim. So Moshe says, well, how could it be, how is it possible that a person doesn't have relatives? He didn't have a wife, so he had nephews, he had children, he had some sort of relative. Every Jew has a relative. You know what they say, when We say when there's a will, there's a way. We say when there's a will, there's relatives. So there must be somewhere, there must be somewhere a relative. Well, how does it have many? So the Gemara says, it says a Ger Katan. A Ger Katan who became a Ger, so he has all of his previous relatives, his mother, his father, his sister, brother, they're not related to him anymore because he became Jewish. So we see there's an instance of a Ger Katan, of the being min ha-Torah, it's a pasuk in the Torah. It means you're going to talk not rabbinical, not rabbanon. So how could it be that it should be only rabbanon? So Tosafos says there is a possibility. There's a case where it could be a Ger Katan midraisa. How? If his mother conceived, mother was not Jewish, and she conceived, and after she conceived, so she went to convert to be Megayer, to become a Yid. Now this child that she's carrying, if, according to the opinion, that Yerach Uber Yerach Imai, that what she's carrying in her womb is a part of her body. Yerach Imai is a part of her body. That's just like one of her limbs. It's just like one of her limbs. So just like all the limbs are Jewish, so this child is Jewish. The child that's not born yet, the embryo is Jewish. So when he's born, he's a Ger Katan. That's here. So my Rosh Yeshivah Zechron Bracha, he asked the kasha like this. There's actually, it's not, there are two opinions whether a womb is considered like a limb or a womb is not considered like a womb. There's two opinions. One holds Yerachimai, that a limb is like, that a womb is part of the limb, is a limb, the embryo is a limb. One says, that is not a womb. According to that opinion, he says you wouldn't have a tzir, you wouldn't have an instance of a Ger Katan midraisa. So he asks like this. The Chasam Sofer brings down, he says, Shalani chel chacham echad. Chacham asked him one time this question: when does a non-Jew become an adult? So he said that it depends not on age, but it depends on maturity. In other words, if he's mature, if he speaks maturely, if he thinks maturely, it seems like he's in the category of an adult, he's a goy. So he could be 13 and he's not mature, he's still not a goy. But it could be he's 10 years old and he is a goy. That's what Chasam Sofer says. So he comes so he reads like this. He said, it could very well happen that an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old child, a 10-year-old child came to Bezdin, and he said he wants to be Megayer. And they talked with him, and they gave him an intelligence test. They saw that he's like a 13-year-old. He speaks like a 13, 14-year-old child. So he is considered, according to Din Bnei Noach, the laws that apply to a non-Jew, he's considered an adult. So once he's considered an adult, so he can be Megayer himself. He's like every other, like a 20, 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 50-year-old non-Jew who comes, he wants to become a Yid. That's all he needs. So it goes the process, milah, tefillah, a circumcision, everything, and becomes a Yid. So this 10, 11-year-old, he becomes a Yid. Now, he becomes a Yid, but as soon as he becomes a Yid, so here's an 11-year-old, and he's a Yid, and he's a Godel. But being that now that he became a Yid, my Rosh Yeshivah said, reason, he became a Yid. He falls under the category of Allah Moshe Sinai, and he's not 13 yet, so he becomes a Yid, but he becomes a Katan. He's not an adult yet. So therefore he said, so he asked the question, he asked Rabbi Chaim Ozer, the Rabbi Yisroel Club now going to go to my door. He asked Rabbi Chaim Ozer, this kasha, he said, why did Tosafos have to find a Rashi, a terrace, to explain this difficult Gemara? The English going to look for how to make a Ger Katan not Torah. Tosafos could have said simply this kind of case, where a child, 10 years old, 11 years old, came to Bezdin, and they gave him an intelligence test. They saw that he's an adult, he's mature. He was Megayer himself. As soon as he was Megayer himself, so he reverted back to a Katan again, because he falls under Halacha Moshe Sinai. So there you have it. They have it here. Not Torah, it's been Raise. Why didn't they? So Rabbi Chaim Ozer said, he has not, it's a Pirkei Avos Ch. He doesn't know what to answer on it. It's a Chasam Sofer. He said, but the Chasam Sofer says, what he says is, it's a Raise, it's a sport that you can't really shake. So that would seem to be, that's what applies by a non-Jew. By a non-Jew, it's not age. It's not when he's 13 or a girl when she's 12. It's when, if he has das. If he's mature, he's considered an adult. If he's not, he's not considered. Find Barakasha Omer. Rasa Kori Baruch Hu Zakbeis as Yisrael. V'tikon Kibran Torah Mitzvah Shedamar. Anei Cholis Man Shikva Yagim Torah.